Today on Expert Showcase, we have Adina Laver, who wants to know, are you scared and confused about divorce? 3 things you can do now to regain some control. And Adina, welcome to Expert Showcase. We are so glad to have you as our expert guest today. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Mark. Thanks so much for having me.
Pleasure. And this is an important topic, for better or for worse. We have an awful lot of people going through divorce, right? So we're going to talk about some things that people can do to regain some control. Give us a quick overview so that we set people's minds right as to what we're going to cover in today's episode.
Sure, absolutely. Even contemplating divorce, the number of people going through divorce is large, the number of people contemplating it is very large, and one of the things we know is that it can become really anxiety-producing and even paralyzing to where people can get stuck for weeks, months, and even years. So right now, this episode is really going to talk about 3 things people can do right now to start feeling more in control, gaining some of that confidence. And these are things to do even before talking to an attorney so that you can really develop a strong mental state.
Excellent. And when we were prepping for the show, I mean, we're doing 3 things, so I'm going to do a quick rundown. So we're going to talk first about becoming informed and learning what divorce is really about and what the process is. Then we'll talk a little bit about, defining what's most important to you as the person going through it, and then creating a real plan so that you can kind of get through this. So let's take those in order and take them from the top there. So Adina, when you're working with one of your clients and around being informed, how do you do that, and what's the process that you take them through?
Sure, Mark. I'm actually going to back up just one step and really talk about why it is so paralyzing, because I think it's helpful. Maybe part of the being informed is knowing why it gets so scary. And part of the reason why it gets so scary is that divorce really hits at some pretty significant things. There's this sense of loss of losing the life I've known, the only life maybe I've known for a lot of years, and not being able to know what's coming ahead. There's this diminished sense of self-confidence. Did I choose wrong? Did I not perform well as a spouse? Those kinds of things can come up. There's societal views. And one of the things I like to do is even sometimes think about how do we reframe divorce, because divorce almost has like this big F mapped across it, like we fail. Yeah. And when we think about failure, nobody wants to fail, so we got to blame somebody. It also threatens our sense of security because it's so tied up with money and our financial future. And a lot of people don't really know how to negotiate, and divorce brings with it a lot of negotiation. And one last thing I do always explain to people is that fear is actually wired into our brains. There's a neurobiology here, which is why we're afraid. We're wired to like things the way they are, and we're also wired to see all the dangers and not see the possible good things that could happen, because we're wired to prevent ourselves from being attacked by the tiger in the bushes, so to speak. So it's one of the reasons it makes it so paralyzing for people. So the number 1 tip then that we started to talk about was becoming informed. One of the things that feeds fear is a lack of knowledge. Let's call it ignorance or a lack of understanding. And divorce is sort of held out there as something only attorneys really know about, or you need specialists to figure things out for you. So the first way in really gaining confidence is to get some education. Understand what divorce is really about and what it's not about. Understand really how it affects kids, what is the good, the bad, the ugly about that, how to talk to kids, how to talk to your spouse, what is the legal process, what are the financial ramifications, how do you prepare for that, and what is this whole pathway through it. And just having that bit of knowledge, as in anything, can really help people gain a lot more confidence and stability.
Absolutely, because you're shining a light on the unknown. You said it really well before. I mean, we are hardwired to be afraid of the unknown. I always joke that our ancestors who were not afraid of the unknown, they got eaten by the saber-toothed tiger. That's why they're not our ancestors. We got the scary genes, that keep us alive by being apprehensive. So sure, you start out by trying to figure out a map of this unknown territory, and this is this getting informed phase, right? And now I would assume that most people jump right to, okay, I got to get informed by speaking to a divorce attorney, right? I mean, isn't that sort of the logical jump that people would often make?
It is the logical jump that people often make. They make 2 jumps. One is usually they go to the internet first, and that can be seriously dangerous because there's a lot of horror stories. My daughter has a great saying where I always say, why are you telling all these bad stories about what happened at school? Didn't anything good happen? And she said, the bad stories are fun to tell, right? And we get very acclimated to telling and really engaging with the bad stories. It's that whole fear thing again. So we go on the internet, we listen to friends and family, we listen to everybody's horror story, and we assume all those things are going to happen to us. Then we go to an attorney, and what we don't fully understand when we go to an attorney is that, one, an attorney only addresses the legal part of a divorce. It doesn't tell you what you do when you're living at home and how do you talk to your kids and what will keep things from accelerating. It only gives you legal information. The other thing about going to an attorney first is that an attorney is designed to be your advocate, which means put up all your defenses, put up your, get on your iron suit so you can be fully protected. Well, we don't all need the same amount of protection, but we can quickly assume that we do when we go there. So, attorneys are great. They're essential for a good process, but really getting informed yourself first and going to my second tip, which I really want to bring in, which is setting your priorities, like really knowing who you're going to be in this and what's important to you before you even get to the attorney is important. So
yeah, so let's roll into that. So define what's most important to you is your next takeaway. So let's talk more about that. And also, I just want to say I love this concept of working with a divorce coach. Not just an attorney, but having somebody who's really going to help you take a holistic approach to this whole process here. So I think this is a great service that you've created for people. So anyway, so define what is most important to you.
Right. So in terms of defining what's most important to you, we look at things like, what are your real values? One of the things that it's so easy to happen in divorce is that people who got together because they had some common values, loved each other, respected each other, suddenly in an instant, as soon as the divorce word is mentioned, can lose all sense of trust, forget that they had anything that they valued in common, and all those kinds of things. So, taking a breath, stopping things from like going down the speeding train path and saying, what's really important to me? Who do I want to be in this? And I frequently quote Dr. Martin Luther King, who talks about it's not who we are in the best of circumstances that really defines our nature, but it's how we show up in the challenging times. So this is actually the opportunity to show up in the challenging time, to think about, what do I really want for me? What do I really want for my kids? How do I want this process to go? Because it's not a cookie cutter thing. And which of all of the things here is really most important to my, being happy and finding stability on the other side. So taking a breath, stopping, and asking yourself some of those important questions before you take any other step that has ramifications, like going to see an attorney, can be a huge benefit in this process.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I think people have, often you said before about, people tell the dark stories, right, not the happy stories, and that's pretty much people's blueprint of how a divorce is supposed to go, right? It's either a horrible divorce that you lived through earlier in your own life, or it's some movie that has ultra dramatized, divorce, and so that's your blueprint in your mind. So it helps to sit down with somebody and talk through and create a much more realistic, much more hopefully, successful process to get through here. And I think that's a good segue then to your third point, which is that it is about trying to create a plan, not just going off some Hollywood blueprint, right?
Absolutely. And so really taking your priorities and now mapping them into a plan. And, I think about this metaphor of if you were a pilot and you were going to take a plane in the air, you check the weather, you set a flight plan, and you know how you were going to get the plane back on the ground before you even took off, right?
Kind of an important part of the process.
An important part of the process. And in divorce, we just kind of like fly up into the sky without checking anything very often. And so the idea is to really have a plan as to what you're going to do, to take it slowly, step by step. So in terms of creating a plan, this is having a plan for everything. Having a plan for if there's going to be a transition about where I'm going to live, a plan for how we're going to talk to the kids. Some of the biggest things that happen that create difficulty in the kids transitioning happen in the way the news is transmitted to them, and then things start from there. Have a plan about who's going to be your legal support. It's not just attorneys. There are mediators, there are attorneys, there's a collaborative divorce process. There's a whole variety of ways to do this, and there's no set formula. So again, knowing which legal method is right for you. one of the most important things people can have a plan about is the finances. Very often, this is where emotions and the process, the legal process, get completely intertwined, and it messes things up for people, because the money in equitable distribution and divorce is not meant to rectify the wrongs that happened in the marriage. You know, the legal process doesn't say this person made you feel badly, this person cheated, this person did this, so we're going to give you more money for it. It doesn't work that way. And so being able to disentangle that, become educated about your finances, how distribution works in your state, is a really important part of being able to navigate this in a calmer, healthier way.
Excellent. Well, Adina, this is great stuff. I'm going to tell people in just a second how they can actually get in touch with you and about a great resource that you've created for them online. We've been talking with Adina Laver today about, being scared and confused about divorce, and covering the 3 things that you can do right now to regain some control here. So we've been talking about getting informed so that you're actually getting actual information about the divorce process, defining what's most important to you, and then creating a plan so that you have a blueprint, a sense of control, that you know what you're going to be doing step by step. So Adina, people can get in touch with you at your website, divorcecompanion.com, and it sounds like you've created a very cool multimedia guided program for people there that's going to take them through these 3 keys if they just kind of go there, the Divorce Companion, right? So divorcecompanion.com. Did I get that right?
You did, absolutely. And the Divorce Companion, I'm just kind of holding it up a little bit
cool.
here. It
Shameless
is a multimedia program. It's right, it's shameless plug. It's really meant because even if someone's at the stage they haven't told their friend, they haven't told anyone in the family, they're feeling too scared to even talk about it, how do they get informed? How do they set priorities and start making a plan? That's what this was designed to do. They may never even talk to me, or before they're ready to talk to somebody, but there's that stage when people are just so scared, and I really wanted people to have reliable information that would help them go down a healthy path, and that's what the Divorce Companion really is. So that's what I want people to look at first to help them regain that mental control.
I think it's an excellent service that you've provided, and it's going to give people a lot of structure. So connect with Adina. Head over to divorcecompanion.com. Adina, it has been wonderful having you on Expert Showcase today. I think this is great and valuable information to share with people who are going through a less than happy time most of the time. So thanks for being on the show today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And another great Expert Showcase episode. Chris, what should people do right now?
Yeah, if you're watching this and you're a coach or consultant, imagine what it would do for you and your business if you were a guest on Experts Showcase. And here's the best part. Other than possibly increasing your business, an appearance on Expert Showcase is free. We give you a copy of your episode so you can use as marketing collateral, and we give you a coaching session to go along with it to tell you how you can best market your episode and other tips and tricks about your business. So what you want to do is head on over to expertshowcase.com, click on the big yellow apply button, and apply to be our next featured guest on the Expert Showcase. Now, if you're a coach or consultant and you've already imagined what having your own internet talk show will do for you, then we want you to head to VideoContent.Agency and check us out, check our packages out, and get in contact with us. Let's see if we're a good fit, and let's see if we're the ones to produce you and make you the next star and have your own internet talk show. And until next time, Mark, anything else?
I couldn't have said it any better, so just do what he said.